Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Issues at hand.
Well, good morning once again. This is Issues at Hand, and of course, the rest of this time we are going to discuss the 38 years of NUDIPU and how they have been part of narrating the stories, especially of the persons with disabilities. Of course, we know that they had a climax of their events of recent in Hoima, and of course, why they had a marathon. And of course, when we saw a press talking about this marathon, now people had in their mind something different. Of course, the big question was, how will this be? Good. Here we are with the program's office of NUDIPU, David, with us to give us a more highlight and what they actually want to achieve by these celebrations. So, David, it's a pleasure having you this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah, kindly greet our viewers, and then we shall discuss the 38 years of NUDIPU.
Thank you. My name is David Nangosi. It's a privilege to be here with you today. I work for National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda, NUDIPU, which is an umbrella organization for persons with disabilities in this country. And rightly said, we were celebrating our 38 years of existence on 14th of November 2025, and this took place at Hoima City at Boma grounds. This NUDIPU was birthed on 14th of November 1987, before I was born. And at the time when NUDIPU was birthed, I should say that the country was in oblivion when it came to addressing issues of persons with disabilities.
Okay.
Few people with disabilities across the country came up with the idea of forming an association, which association would bring together persons with disabilities together, which association would act as a voice for persons with disabilities across the country, which association would act as a unifying factor for persons with disabilities across the country. There are very many incidences that happened in the then period when we were in the traditional model or the charity model of disability.
A point where giving birth to a child with a disability was an abomination.
Sure. And all that was the traditional model of disability, which looked at persons with disabilities as useless people, as abnormal people, as people that do not deserve to be on the decision-making tables, among others. And that's the period, if you recall, is when one of the presidents in this country gathered persons with disabilities, especially those with physical disabilities, in loaded trucks in the guise of going to support them, going to help them. And at the end of it all, he ended up ferrying them in Lake Victoria. I hope you remember those periods, stories. The then period of Idi Amin. So at the time when NUDIPU was birthed, there were all those sorts of human rights violations against persons with disabilities. So our coming into existence on 14th of November 1987 was to ensure a just and fair society where persons with disabilities live prosperous and dignified lives. And this has been through promotion and protection of the rights of persons with disabilities in a unified voice for improved livelihoods. And in a unified voice, I mean when NUDIPU came on board, it sought to work together with all categories of persons with disabilities. When NUDIPU came on board, it sought to work together with persons with disabilities at the local level in the districts. That's why apparently we have organizations of persons with disabilities which are our members. We also have the district unions of persons with disabilities which are also our members. But also we have the structures that we have we also have the structures that we advocated to ensure there is representation across. And so we have the disability structures, we have the political structures from the village up to the district level, and all those have been as a result of NUDIPU's advocacy efforts. I wish, however, to note that this NUDIPU that I'm talking about is located on Bukoto Kisas Road. That is where our head office is situated.
So someone would really want to know, having had all this history, NUDIPU is birthed on the 14th of November 1987, and of course by Saturday the 14th of by Friday the 14th of November 2025.
Yes,
those are 38 years down. Do you see any change? Do you see any results of your advocacy? Are there any success stories that you say that this was because of the advocacy by NUDIPU?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
There are quite a number of advocacy stories, but before that I wish to note to the listeners that NUDIPU works for all categories of persons with disabilities, and the listeners may not be knowing what are these categories. Briefly,
exactly.
We work for persons with physical disabilities, we work for persons with the mental disabilities, those with intellectual and psychosocial disabilities, and we also work with the persons with albinism, persons of short stature. We work with deaf-blind persons, we work with the blind persons, they are also called persons with visual disability. We also work with the person with hearing impairment that are categorized under the deaf and the hard of hearing. We work with persons with epilepsy, among others. So there are a number of successes.
It is broad now.
Yeah.
When you list all these categories, because I think when someone hears a person with disability, there are those that immediately come into their minds.
Yes.
Those I think that are commonly talked about, but those now, for example, when you talk about albinism, I mean these are categories that are rarely considered as persons with disabilities.
Yeah, but they are person with disabilities because they are already in Schedule 3 of the Person with Disabilities Act. They are already enlisted there. But what I've talked about are some of the disability categories that we have. But according to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, disability is an evolving concept. It is an evolving concept in the sense that today we are looking at some of the disability categories that are enlisted under Schedule 3 of the Persons with Disabilities Act. Okay. But tomorrow we may see other disability categories coming to play. So, of course, we also have categories like persons with autism, among others. It is not under Schedule 3 of the Persons with the Disabilities Act, but those are also some of the disability categories. So, back to the question. From 14th of November 1987, do we have any strides that NUDIPU has registered? The answer is yes. There are a number of successes that NUDIPU has registered from the period 1987 up to now. First and foremost, before NUDIPU came into existence, there was a lot of human rights violations committed towards or against persons with disabilities. It is because persons with disabilities were looked at in the traditional model or traditional perspective as people not deserving of their rights, as people that are not supposed to be in the decision-making tables, as people that are not supposed to go to school, as people that are not supposed to get employed, as people that are not supposed to make decisions with others.
Today, supposed to be hidden in bedrooms.
Today, as I talk about our 30 years of existence, we note that there is political representation of persons with disabilities from the grassroots up to the national level. From the village, parish, sub-county, district, we have male and female representation of persons with disabilities. And those play a critical role when it comes to making decisions at the lower level in the decentralized government system. If we did not have those leaders, then it would be a big gap. At the national level, we have the 5 members of parliament that do represent us in the legislative arm of government. We have the 4 MPs, and we have the 5th, which is a female member of parliament that is supposed to represent women with disabilities. So as far as representation is concerned, which outrightly falls within Article 3 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and also which falls outrightly under Article 29 of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, NUDIPU has underscored it.
Okay.
In the then period, the country trusted NUDIPU to organize elections for members of parliament for persons with disabilities. And in that period, when NUDIPU started supporting the state, we did not have the issues that we are facing today in the electoral processes. The government made use of NUDIPU structures to mobilize persons with disabilities across the country to participate in the electoral processes. Today, you are hearing of challenges that persons are facing, that their names are not in the voters register. Yeah. 2, you're hearing of the challenges that persons with disabilities are not knowing about the electoral processes. Today, you are hearing the challenges that persons with disabilities are struggling to vote because of the voting stations, the polling centers, which are inaccessible. In the then period, when NUDIPU was organizing the elections for persons with disabilities, which was a key stride, it did not happen. But now we are facing a number of these challenges. So political representation of persons with disabilities is key. But the first and foremost should be the progressive enactment of the laws and policies.
Okay.
The legal frameworks for persons with disabilities at the international, regional, and national level stands very uniquely. Uganda is one of the countries in the sub-Saharan Africa, and more so in the global south, to have progressively come up with the enabling laws and policies that promote and protect the rights of persons with disabilities. And this, we have seen the ratification of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which is a global guidance framework or tool that provides a human rights-based approach to disability. That is the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We have also come at the East African regional level, where we have the East African Policy on Persons with Disabilities. But now we are seeing the Disability Protocol. The Disability Protocol, which seeks to promote and protect the rights of persons with disabilities on the African scene. And it comes into play basically to give effect to the Banjul Charter, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. When we come at the national level, we see Uganda. We see vividly the evolving jurisprudence on disability rights provided for under Article 32 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which has well provided for affirmative action on the basis of marginalized groups, including on the basis of disability. And under Article 35, it has clearly come up to provide for the rights of persons with disabilities, and it has gone ahead to note that the state shall come up with the specific frameworks that will guarantee the promotion and protection of the rights of persons with disabilities. And as a result of that, today, you see we have the Persons with Disabilities Act. We have the Persons with Disabilities Act, which provides for a number of rights. And when you look at Section 7 When you look at Section 7 of the Persons with Disabilities Act, it has clearly provided for non-discrimination in provision of health services, which was the basis for this, which was the theme for the commemoration of our 38 years of existence.
So did you find any sort of discrimination while attaining all sorts of health services?
Yeah. There are a number, we have a number of discriminatory practices, but I wish I would allude to them later, as I first of all...
Because I see our time is
all right, that's fine. That's fine then. So, as we commemorated our 38 years of existence, we also underscored first the fact that there has been effort by the state when it comes to the promotion and protection of the rights of persons with disabilities in health services. And this has been demonstrated so much in our legal enactments. It has been demonstrated so much in making global commitments, especially in the Global Disability Summit of 2022 and 2025. We have also noted that there has been effort in providing for provision of inclusive health services in the strategic plan of means of health, especially under strategic area 3.8, which provides for, among others, disability inclusive health services. Despite that, we have noted that there are still glaring gaps when it comes to provision of health services towards persons with disabilities. And persons with disabilities are affected differently when it comes to provision of healthcare services. For example, we presented our position paper on the NUDIPU celebrations, marking our 38 years of existence. And when we looked at persons with autism, they face a number of challenges. For example, we have stigma and misconceptions about the autism. And this hinders acceptance and understanding of this person with autism in society. And then we also have the limited awareness about understanding the autism spectrum disorder throughout the country. We also have insufficient inclusive education to these persons, the burdens to families, among others. Now, we unpacked the challenges faced by every disability category. And if you give me a brief, and if you give me some more time, I would unpack briefly these. For example, when it comes to persons with epilepsy, they go through irregular medications at health centers. And then we also have sometimes the wrong or misdiagnosis of this person's epilepsy, which leads to increased medication burden. For example, prescribing all the 3 types of medication to one patient. But also we have the inadequate skilled staff to handle this person's epilepsy, stigma and discrimination, which is also faced by persons with autism, also equally is faced by persons with epilepsy. When we went deeper to underscore the challenges faced by persons with spina bifida and hydrocephalus, these go through a number of challenges. We have the lack of access to healthcare facilities and specialists due to existing few practicing neurosurgeons in the country. We have few of them in the country, and all this information was shared with us by Spina Bifida and Hydrocephalus Association of Uganda, which is an organization that is responsible for advancing inclusive health advocacy for persons with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. We have the challenge to do with the loss of sensation, where the nerve damage may lead to a reduced or complete loss of sensation, more so in the legs and feet, making it difficult to maintain balance and coordination. But also the bladder and bowel dysfunction is also a very critical one, where persons with spina bifida have difficulty controlling their bladder and the bowels, which can affect their ability to participate in the social and the physical activities. But when we come to persons with I'm running fast because of time. When we come to persons with the persons of short stature or little persons, those are persons that are affected by dwarfism. We have a number of challenges that these persons go through. First of all is the spinal stenosis, which is the narrowing of the spine canal. And this cannot accommodate well the spine, and hence it makes coordination to the brain not proper. They also go through a number of challenges, especially the tibia bowing, which often requires correction with support of orthopedic doctors. But this does not come with ease because of financial constraints by most of persons of little stature. I mean persons of short stature or little person, very short people. We also have still inaccessible health facilities. That is a very big challenge that's faced by persons of short stature. We do not have the adjustable beds in the various health facilities across the country. But remember, these also have the right to sexual reproductive health. So when they go into labor, they find those big challenges. The health practitioners, as they say, they ask them, how did you first of all climb the bed? Two, even you, how did you do it? So the thing has already happened, but the medical practitioner is asking you that. But when it comes to the labor bed, it's not adjustable. So all that really makes the life of persons of short stature very difficult. But also the negative attitude continues to affect them by the various health practitioners across the country. And then when we come to persons with albinism, they also struggle so much, especially with accessing the sunscreens, the various health facilities across the country. And remember, they cannot live without these sunscreens. Their bodies are prone to cancer. And research shows that very few persons with albinism exceed the age of 40 years because most of these are affected by cancer and resultantly they end up dying. The provision of sunscreens is a legal imperative which is provided for under Section 7 of the Person with Disabilities Act. However, when you go to most of the health facilities across the country, we cannot find them. When you come now to the statistics that we have at the moment produced by UBOS, now we have the statistics for every disability category in every district. Now, officers cannot say that they don't know about the numbers of persons with disability and so they cannot plan for them. The disability monography, it unpacks the statistics for every disability category in every district, male and female. When we come again to persons with albinism, we have limited and at times no screening. They are not screened. Screening helps in the sense that it helps to detect whether one has a skin condition that can be worked on or not. And then also we have limited knowledge of health workers in diagnosis and treatment of the skin-related conditions. That's quite very challenging. But back to sunscreens. I think 2 months ago, we saw the World Health Organization come up to give the global guidance. They made sunscreens to be among the essential medicines list, among the 15 essential medicines list across the world. And that means we as a country, we are supposed to make sure that sunscreens are provided for in the various health facilities across the country to support persons with albinism, to enable, to prolong their lifespan.
Okay, Ms. Anago, our time actually is spent, but like in about 2 minutes, we know that you had a marathon as part of the events that marked the 38 years of NUDIPU. Probably someone would want to know why this marathon and what did you intend to achieve out of the marathon?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we organized a marathon that took place on the 9th of November 2025 at Chadon Rugby Grounds. The marathon was one of the activities leading to the commemoration of the NUDIPU 38 years of existence. It was one of the corporate social responsibility drive. And we intended basically to collect money, to mobilize resources, which resources would support us to buy artificial limbs for persons with for amputees actually, persons with physical disabilities, especially amputees. We expected to get around 40 million, around 40-50 million, but resultantly we only got 19 million, and that is what we got from the marathon. Every artificial limb goes up to 4 to 5 million. So at the moment, we have been able to support like around 4 persons with physical disabilities, especially those with amputees, with the artificial limbs. That was specifically the purpose of the marathon. Of course, that's not enough. We still call upon the well wishers across the country to stand with us in this drive. We are continuing to receive all those that can be part and parcel of us in this, and we welcome you. We shall be in position to receive you so that we continue supporting persons with physical disabilities or artificial limbs, especially those that are amputees.
Thank you so much, David, and of course to your viewer, thank you so much for watching through. Of course, we know we'd have had a lot, but time is out, especially for issues at hand. The next is coffee break. Adrian Austin McCullers is my name. I've worked with Liz, Esther, and of course a very big number of people that work together to see that you have this show from 6:30 up to now. From the entire team, we wish you a blessed day. Next is coffee break.
Issues at hand.